What's good, everybody? It's your boy Tico on Blitz back at it again with another video. And today we are going to be taking a look at the Tier 10 Polish Tech Tree Medium, the CS63. A lot of people have been making assumptions saying that this is possibly one of the most overrated Tech Tree Mediums throughout the course of World of Tank Blitz. And that seemed to have been the case before the balance changes even came into effect. It was mainly relevant for its hold down capabilities and for the fact that it had solid maneuverability. The only problem is that its gun couldn't really do enough in order to cut through spaced armor, as it did have lackluster penetration factors, and for the fact that it didn't really have the necessary DPM levels to keep up with some other mediums in retrospect. Now, as apart from the balance changes, this vehicle has gotten mega buffed as apart from that. The first thing that it received was the adaptive concealment mechanic, which basically means that there will be an eyeball indicator showing up on the left side of your opponent's health bar, indicating that they can spot you in the exact location of where your tank is planted at. But in order to become invisible more quickly, it's 7 seconds of spotting time as opposed to the standard 10-second, which means if the eyeball indicator disappears, you're no longer spotted. That would basically give you the opportunity to mosey on over to another spot, to where if the tank is still spotted within the vicinity of where it was last planted, you basically will have the advantage to outdo it in many ways, shape, or form. The vehicle also got more DPM levels, and as you can see when I'm running Refined Gun, it has 3,500 damage per minute with a 5.76 second reload time. That's pretty much in competence to a Kampfpanzer 50 ton, an Object 907, and even a T-22 medium. You name it, it's able to keep up now with the majority of those rapid firing mediums. But the lackluster part, like I said before, is the penetration. And for the fact that this vehicle only carries 290 on its heat, it's not going to be enough still to cut through the majority of spaced armor, as the balance changes, as apart from calibrated shells getting an increase, did not have any effect on APCR premiums, and even APCR standards in many ways, shape, or form. To which, if I'm still running my calibrated shells, you can see that the pen is still at a lackluster amount, sitting at 305 even. Which is possibly better to run gun rammer on this thing, because you basically have the DPM advantage in every way, shape, or form. So in terms of what the armor profile looks like, you have 115 on the turret and 60 millimeters on the front of the hull. And this is what the armor profile looks like facing off against one of its related brothers, the Leopard 1. Pretty much in the state to where these vehicles are highly incompetent to one another, but the CS63 has more troll armor, and it has better maneuverability and DPM levels than the Leopard 1 does. So this is what the current armor profile looks like. The majority of the turret is actually quite troll. There's a lot of corner cutouts that separate like the outer portions of the turret that are upwards of about 160 space to about high 300s in many ways, shape, or form. Even the gun mantlet is actually really troll at above 300 millimeters thick as well. The upper plate as well, with that significant angular bit, is actually quite troll and firing standard ammo at it, having upwards of about 152 spaced. To where if I'm loading in my premiums, that's where it's really all going to change. Especially when the flat ground capabilities is pretty much non-existent on this vehicle. You would just have to hit it in the right spot in order to guarantee a pen on it. But when I'm using my hold down capabilities is where the turret is going to be thickened now to where it basically was when running against standard ammo. Whereas some spots are basically still going to be overmatched quite easily, but at times your shells would fly, unfortunately, in the angled bits that surround the outer portion of the turret, upwards of 400 millimeters thick in most aspects. And even when I'm running my standard ammo, it thickens the upper plate now to about 211 space, which means I would still have to try to run my premiums if it is exposed, so that I can easily overmatch it in any way, shape, or form in that aspect. So once we make our way towards the side of the vehicle, the side of the turret is upwards of 123, and then the full-on side is about 55 spaced. And then for the rear, the back of the turret is upwards of 57 to 60, and the full-on rear where the engine deck is located is upwards of 44, to which HEs can cut through to where the engine deck is located on this vehicle. A little bit of a disadvantage to what this vehicle has going for it against the Leopard 1 is that the Leopard 1 has a higher damage output at 360 on the standard, as opposed to 340 what's lurking on the CS63. But if you'd like to extend those numbers to a higher outcome, then you do have tungsten rounds associated with that purpose, which will roll much higher than what your average damage has going for it. It doesn't matter what form of shells that it is. But this vehicle also carries reticle calibration in that aspect, and I don't really see a point as to why to run that, because the vehicle is actually fairly accurate, having 3 seconds of aiming time with .262 dispersion along the lines of that. And then finally for the maneuverability, you go 58 forward and 23 in reverse, and you have a fairly solid power to weight of 23.5 along with that. But you can also increase the power to weight and the maneuverability factors as the vehicle also carries gear oil, which will add 4 kilometers per hour to the top speed and the reverse speed along with that, which means that you are basically able to go 62 kilometers forward and 27 in reverse. So that's kind of an advantage as apart from being in that aspect as well. Kind of along the lines with the modern day Leopard 1. So let's go ahead and lurk on over to our first battle and see what we can do. Looks like they have a Caro, a 4202, a Destiny. I actually haven't really seen one of those in a hot minute, so let's go ahead and see how we can do as apart from our first battle right here. What do we got? We got a Caro on our team, and it looks like we should be able to have some support coming through the side with us, which I hope is going to be the case. All right, perfect. Looks like we got a couple other vehicles that are coming through alongside us. All right, so we're going to mosey our way right along over here. I am actually going to be going right behind this little bush right here and see what's going to plop on out as apart from what's going to be poking through here. So we're going to kind of wait. Unless if there's a vehicle that's maybe going to come on over the ridge line, that would also be unfortunate. All right, we got a Caro lurking off towards the side already. Let's go ahead and see. Looks like he's possibly going to be a distraction as to what's going to be lurking on through there. And there's a nice tap just in the nick of time into that enemy 4202. Absolutely prime example to the gun aspect of this vehicle. And another tap into his vehicle for 245. We played that just perfectly. All right. So now the 4202 spotted us for the slightest second. So let's go ahead and see if he's actually going to be lurking on through the lines once again. All right, I'm actually just going to be staying put right here. And it looks like the Caro is going to be moseying on up. We got the Super Conk off to the side as well. Nice tap for 375 into the side of his vehicle. All right, it's reloading once again. We also got the Tortoise coming on out to the side right there. And there's a max roll of 425. And that is the sheer power of what DPM is capable of doing to your opponents. All right, we got the enemy Tortoise once again. All right, he looks like he's going to be lurking on down right there, which is unfortunate. We're going to kind of wait for him once again to make that dire miss poke. There we go, 328 slap into his turret. All right, and then we're going to mosey on up once again, and beautiful, 296 into his turret once again. All right, looks like we got some enemies that are lurking on over here. All right, we got the Super Conk right off to the side. I cannot do anything in any way, shape, or form to cut through that freaking troll turret of his. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wait. Looks like the Super Conk might be moseying on up. We also got the 4202 coming on out in the open as well. And we get a 316 slap into his vehicle. All right. Looks like we got somebody lurking on behind us, which is the enemy Destiny. So we're going to go ahead and help out Mike Rill to the best of our ability and out DPM this guy. We're going to plop on our Tungsten. 407 slap into his vehicle. Reloading again. And we're going to go ahead and get another solid tap into him. And here we go with the DPM advantage to what this vehicle has going for it. All right. We're going to get a nice bounce into his vehicle. And we also have the backwards capabilities as well. Oh, he bounces us. Unfortunate apart from his behalf. So reloading once again. We're going to get to the side of this enemy Destiny right there for 339. All right. So we're reloading again. We're going to go ahead and wait and fire once again. And he does get cleared as apart from that. Beautiful results once again. All right, so we got the enemy Caro off to the side. It looks like their Super Conk is still alive in that aspect as well. All right, looks like he does move, so we might have the advantage to take care of this Caro. Otherwise, there's more vehicles lurking off towards the side. Let's see. Oh, there he is. There we go. 425 max roll once again into his vehicle. And then we're going to mosey on down towards this enemy Caro. All right, I don't have the gun depression advantage, unfortunately. Grill misses us in that aspect, which is good. And the Caro's not going to be aiming in on me, and we do get a nice clear into his vehicle in that aspect. So then we're going to go right down towards the enemy Grill and get the clear on into his vehicle. Beautiful stuff. And then we are going to be moseying our way towards the enemy E100. Let's see if we can maybe get a nice solid tap into his vehicle once again. So we're using our maneuverability. We also got our tungsten rounds maybe loading on in once again. All right, come on. Can I get the tap into him? Yes, I can. 391 right before he gets cleared. Yes, sir, and a 5,500 damage game to start us off lickety-split. I mean, what more can I ask for as apart from that? It's possibly one of the best performances that I've ever put up as apart from what this vehicle has going for it. And it means that DPM levels can really make a difference as apart from being a rapid-firing beast, just deteriorating hit points left and right into your enemies. And that is going to be an instant top on the team in that aspect. So let's go ahead and mosey our way into game number 2 and see how we can fare well as apart from that. So yes, the vehicle does seem to have a lot of great capabilities in the current state to what it has going for it, and we were able to just butter right through armor like it was absolutely nothing, and just deteriorate hit points using our solid DPM levels to the best of our ability. So here we are lurking on into game number 2. Looks like they got a Type 5 Heavy. It looks like a plate tester in that aspect. So we're going to mosey on through with our Sheridan and our Kara right off towards the left side, see what we can do in that aspect. So here we go. Let us see what they are going to have that's going to be lurking on over here. Uh-oh, my ping levels. Uh-oh. That's actually quite crazy because I haven't really gotten one of those in a hot minute. So moseying on through. Let's see what they're going to have spotted. Maybe a Sheridan or maybe even the M48 Patton. Let's see who's going to be lurking on over here. I'm going to be waiting right here just in case. Well, it looks like that there's nobody that's going to be lurking on over to the side, maybe. Unless it's going to be unfortunate that they are going to be outspotted over towards the far side of the map over here. All right. All right, Sherry. I appreciate the love tap, good sir. Kara is going to be moseying on through all the way. And that is exactly what we are going to be doing in that aspect as well. We already got a 40-05 spotter. We're going to flop on our Tungsten, and he is not running Spallweiner, and he's already cleared. How about that? We got the other 40-05 lurking off towards the far side, and he's also not running Spallweiner in that aspect. So we're going to reload again and get a 430 tap into his vehicle once again, and he is cleared. All right, so we're going to go ahead and mosey our way up over the hillside right over here and see what else that they would have spotted. They got the 777 off towards the far side. We're going to go ahead and see if we can maybe get some taps into his vehicle once again. So it looks like he's going to be lurking on out momentarily. I want to try to get that flying fire out, see if I maybe hit him. We got the Type 5 Heavy off to the side. All right, looks like I missed him, unfortunately enough. But we got the Type 5 Heavy. Ginormous hatch exposed, so unfortunately not able to do anything towards him. Got the Object 777, and there's a nice tap into his vehicle. All right, so reloading again. Looks like we can maybe get a tap into this Patton if he does poke. Oh, just unfortunately missed. All right, well, that's totally all right. Well, we're going to reload again. Let's see. Unfortunately missing that one as well. Kind of played that a little bit cautious. So we got the Type 5 once again. Looks like he's going to be coming on out in that aspect. Oh, unfortunately, he gets into a scrape. Unfortunate. All right. So let's go ahead and reload again. Let's see. Is he going to be... All right, he's going to be moseying on down. We also got a 777 off to the side right over there. And our Karo, unfortunately, got finished off as well. So let's see what they're going to have that's going to be plopping on out momentarily. Well, our WZ is pretty much the only vehicle that's going to be holding this, and our 95 E6 is also holding that alongside him. All right, so the 777 decided to move out of the picture right there. So let's see. We also got the Type. Let's see if he's going to poke on out. We got his hatch exposed. I don't want to get that shot out just yet until I necessarily know what I'm going to be dealing with. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be lurking on over to this side. Looks like we got the Patton that's going to be moseying on down as well. All right, let's see. Can we spot this Patton just in case? Looks like that he's going to be lurking on out. All right, unfortunately not going to be the case, or it looks like it might. Come on, Patton. I know you want to, bro. I know you want to push that. I know you desperately want to, good sir. I know you do. All right, we got the Sheridan, not able to spot him. All right, this is a little bit of a weird situation right here. All right, the Type 5's over there. We also got the grill lurking off to the side. All right, I'm going to try to go ahead and support this side of the map right over here just in case. We got the grill. It looks like he's going to be coming on out right over here. All right, unfortunately not the case. So let's go ahead and mosey our way maybe through here and see what they got that's going to be spotted. All right, I'm going to try to help out and see if I can take care of this enemy grill. We also got the 777, who's also not going to be spotting me in any way, shape, or form. So let's go ahead and tap him for 335. A beautiful slap into his vehicle as apart from that. All right, we got a Sheridan off to the side, so let's see what we can do. Got the Sheridan, looks like he's coming on out, so let's go ahead and fire a 391 slap. Could honestly care less. Uh-oh, we got the Type 5 right there. Unfortunately, he messed up the AG. That's a kind of unfortunate part from his behalf, so Got the Sheridan once again. I don't know if that 777 is going to come down and lurk at me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and mosey my way right along downside over here. It looks like that Type 5 is possibly going to be dealing with me momentarily. So we're going to mosey on over here then and see if we can maybe get some taps into his vehicle. Otherwise, if the Patton is spotted over here, that would also be good. All right. Well, we got the 777 fully on exposed. 341 slap into his vehicle right there. All right. And then we're just going to mosey on down just a little bit and make sure that these guys are possibly not going to be outspotting me in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, if that Type 5 Heavy decides to want to come for me, which I don't know if that's likely going to be the case. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to mosey on through down here and go all the way around. I think that would actually be a very good thing to do, to use my hold down capabilities just in case. All right, so we're going to mosey our way down right along over here, and then we're going to go to the far side right over here. All right, the Type 5 has just been spotted, so we're going to mosey our way down right along over here. Our WZ gets spotted, which is unfortunate, so looks like this is possibly going to be a draw, but I can honestly care less in that aspect. All right, we got the Type 5 spotted right on over there. Also got the 777 spotted once again, so let's go ahead and aim in. Unfortunately, missing that, unfortunately enough. So we're going to go ahead and reload, and we're going to flop on our tungsten and get a 400 slap into the side of his turret. Beautiful stuff in that aspect, so we're going to go ahead and mosey on up just a little bit forward right over there. We got the Sheridan off to the side. Our WZ is going to try to hold that side off. We got the 777 once again. Let's see. All right, not able to spot him. All right, WZ is actually doing a good job holding that. We also got the 777, unfortunately missing that. All right, so looks like he's going to be lurking on out once again. So let's go ahead and maybe try to see if we can maybe plop another slap into his vehicle. Oh, we got the Type. We also got the Sheridan moseying on out. So let's get a... Oh my gosh, bro. That's actually quite crazy that we missed that. All right. So the Type 5 is a one-shot. So let's go ahead and see what we can do as apart from that. So we got the Sheridan moseying on through. We got the 777. Looks like he's coming on out. Beautiful slap for 326 into his vehicle. And then we just back on up into cover once again. We're at 3,400 damage. That's actually a fairly solid result once again. So let's see if this Type 5 is going to be spotted in any way, shape, or form, which it looks like that he does. Oh, just barely missed the shot. Well, it looks like that he's going to be coming on out once again, maybe, for the time being. Also got the Sheridan lurking on out right over there, and he does slap me, which is unfortunate. Let's see if our DPM levels can withhold that. Unfortunately not. All right, so everybody's a one-shot, so... And it's a draw, but that's totally okay. We still were able to do just shy of 4,000 damage for our second battle right there. And again, another prime example to when the vehicle wants to work when it wants to is that it can put up a fairly solid result like this, for example. That's going to be another top on the team in that aspect right there. Alright, and then we are going to be lurking on into game number 3 then, and see what we can do as apart from the first 2 battles. It's actually kind of crazy to what this vehicle has going for it with the sheer power of its DPM that it carries. So, here we are lurking on into game number 3 then. Let's see what they got. They got double E100s. That's actually crazy. They got a Sheridan T62A. We got double Sheridans with us, so that's actually going to be... quite a crazy result if I'm not going to be mistaken. So, alright, well, one of the Sheridans is AFK, which is unfortunate. So, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be lurking on over here then. Sheridan's going to possibly try to outspot these guys, while I am going to be trying to maybe hold off this position right over here. So, we're going to wait right here and see what's going to be lurking on through. Alright, so the other Sheridan decides to want to come on out. Alright, so we're going to hide behind the bush right over here, see what's going to be possibly lurking on outwards, as apart from what they might have spotted over here. Alright. Looks like they got enemies in the base. Their T62 decided to want to go over towards heavy side, which is kind of crazy. We got a clear shot on the side of the E100 for 350, and then we're reloading once again. We also got another possible opportunity to tap him, but I cannot pen him in any way, shape, or form, which is the unfortunate part. So... yeah, he's still going to be lurking on out over there, but I cannot pen him in any way, shape, or form. Alright, so looks like I got another E100 coming on out in the open. I would really just want to wait right here and see if he is going to be possibly lurking on out, which it looks like it's going to be the case. Come on. Come on, I know you want to. Alright, we got the 95E6. There we go. 344 slap into his vehicle. Alright, and we got the E100 coming on out into the open right there. Oh, just barely missing the side Alright, well, alright. I was gonna say, oh, but it looks like we might have his lower plate exposed. Oh, unfortunately not. So I'm gonna mosey on up just a little bit. Alright, looks like that he is angling the side and unfortunately not able to pen him in any way, shape, or form. So we're gonna reload again. We're gonna aim into the side of his vehicle for a third time because third time's a charm. And we're able to get a nice slap into his vehicle. Alright. Reloading again. We got the side of his turret now for 256. And then we're reloading once again. Alright, he is able to maybe outspot me. Oh, just barely missed it again. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and aim in. Ah, bruh, this gun. Alright, at times when it wants to work is really when it feels nice. So, there we go, 389 slap. We're just sitting here just farming out damage for the most part. So, we're going to go ahead and, oh, unfortunately missed that. The E100 is not spotting us, which is actually really good. So, let's go ahead and aim in another tap into his lower plates, and we're going to go ahead and reload again. Alright, looks like all the enemies are pretty much just surrounding themselves over towards the middle. So, this is just an instant farm fest for me, bro. Oh, just missed the 95E6. Alright, so we got the Sheridan. Looks like he's going to be coming on out. That was a tongue twister. Alright. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mosey on upward just a little bit, and then I'm actually going to go ahead and go on in right behind where these enemies are. Alright, so, let's go ahead and mosey our way up. Looks like they got a lot of tanks that are low on health. Their 95E6 is low, and one of their E100s is low. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lurk on up over towards this E100 right over here, and possibly get the finishing clear off into his vehicle, lickety-split. Bruh, my RNG is absolutely insane. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and make up for that just by getting the clear and guaranteeing it as apart from that. So, alright, what's off in the base? It's an E3. I can honestly care less if he slaps me, but that's totally alright. Because I have the DPM advantage, and I'm able to just come right on through. Uh-oh, there's a Sheridan right there, too. So we got our adrenaline active once again, so we're going to go ahead and fire a miss into the E3. I possibly could be dead right here in that aspect, which is unfortunate. So we're going to go ahead and track. Oh, just barely missing him in that way, shape, or form. And yeah, that's possibly going to be our worst damage result as apart from that. And it might be a win if our two Sheridans decide to want to do something as apart from that. Good shot, bro. All right, we'll just kind of come back to you guys and see how this damage game fares out. And what can I say? Double Sherries for the victory. Gotta love to see that. And another 3,000 damage game as apart from what this vehicle is capable of doing as apart from its positive factors that contribute towards its playstyle. Doing second on the team in that aspect. And that is pretty much all that there is to it that comes through with this vehicle. It's in a much better state as apart from what it had going for the balance changes. And I do gotta say that it's a very fun vehicle to play with. And that it somewhat can take advantage over the Leopard 1 in many ways, shape, or forms. As you do have the gun depression advantage by 1 degree. You do have much more maneuverability factors. And you do have tungsten rounds to get those extensive damage rolls. Which is actually quite crazy to even think about. So hopefully you guys did end up enjoying today's video on the other hand, and if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and make sure to turn on those bell notifications while you're at it, so you do not miss out on any new videos or streams. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Peace out, y'all.